Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of The Power of Surrender with Hugh, where every day we take a card from the deck, The Power of Surrender by Dr Judith Orloff, and we discuss a card every day for your food for thought and inspiration in these challenging times we're living in. Today's card is Surrender Defensiveness. This is a really interesting topic. And again, this is why I picked this deck to do this show. Just the whole concept of surrender is such a powerful one. And today, talking about defensiveness. Part of it is kind of taking things personally, but also kind of like it's almost like you get into a mode where you're expecting to be attacked. And if people in your life are attacking you, then it's difficult when you go out to the outside world not to take that with you because it's what you've got used to. So that's a worst case scenario there, but there can be variety of different levels of it. But let me read to you what it says here about let me show you the card one more time. It's a very beautiful card. You can see it looks like a samurai getting ready to defend themselves, and it says defensiveness is a sign of weakness. Let me say that again. Defensiveness is a sign of weakness. To communicate in a more empowered way, stay-centered, and hear someone out. Stay-centered, excuse me. I'm going to read that again. To communicate in a more empowered way, stay-centered, and hear someone out. Then offer a clear and non-defensive response. This is a really good point because you know when you get into that situation where you're like having an argument with someone and you're not listening to what they're saying, you're just getting ready to say the next thing to put them down, and you're trying to win and you have to be right, and also you feel like this need to defend yourself. So and then it just gets into this cycle and nobody wins and everybody gets upset and it just feels awful. Everybody feels terrible. The other way to do this, even if somebody is attacking you, even if somebody is saying things that are outrageous to you, that you just stop, you just let them talk, let them say their thing, say, okay, I heard you, totally hear what you're saying. You could start, if they've said things that are unhelpful to you, you can say, look, I mean, no offense to you, I see things differently than you do. You've said some things that are really unhelpful to me right now. Now please let me finish because I've listened to you. You see where you set what you're doing is a sense you set the kind of ground rules by saying I've listened to you now, I respect what you're saying, I'm not going to argue with you, I'm just going to tell you my point of view. And if a person doesn't want to hear, just wants to shout you down, then of course that's the time when you should just walk away and say, look, let's talk about this when you're calm, because this is not a constructive situation. Now, this is me. Coming from me, I've got into some bad arguments with people, with friends, with colleagues, in all kinds of different situations. So I'm saying this to you having got it wrong many times. And sometimes it's hard when people come at you like, boom, and they like hit you hard and they trigger you. You know, what I have to do sometimes is like I just like take a deep breath. I close my eyes, bite my tongue, just let them do their thing. And it's kind of like it was one of the things that I really didn't like about the first debate in the presidential debate. This is a good example because they were just talking over each other all the time. I remember saying to somebody at the time, I think that it would be far better for both candidates if instead of calling each other names and saying you're stupid and shut up and ooh, look at you got a smackdown, trying to be the smart ass, trying to be the winner all the time, why don't you just shut up and let the other candidate talk, and then you can say what because in letting one of the candidates talk, you're letting them show their colours, and then you can respond to it, as opposed to just talking over one another. For everyone who's watching it, we're just like, it hurt the brain, no matter who you were rooting for. So, and I thought it was better was the second or the third, technically the second debate, where what they did was they really were being more restrained, and I thought that both points of view were a lot clearer. And we could understand what was going on. It was a lot easier to watch, and actually people end up having more respect for both candidates because they can actually clearly hear what they're saying. Now, again, that's just one example of, two people being defensive and attacking each other all the time. That's literally what was happening there. And so that's, a version of what we have in work, what we have in life. And sometimes, especially when it's in a work situation, escalating an argument in work, at the end of the day, somebody walks in and you're shouting. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It's going to look like you're being the bully. And even though you could be completely justified because you have been not treated to or spoken to nicely, it's always a better idea to just bite your tongue, and wait for the appropriate moment to be able to go over and say, because I've had people I've worked with before, who've spoken to me and been unfair, and I'll go back to them later on in the day when they're calm and say, look, I respect you, got none but love for you, but that was, and in fact, most of the time I don't even get to have to say it. They go, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that to you, I was out of turn. Because you just go back when it's a calmer moment, and people can be more reasonable, and they know, if you're coming at them and you're being reasonable, you're not shouting at them, then there's, they know that you're going to be right, because people who are calm tend to be the people who are in the right, generally speaking. So, interesting card again when it says that defensiveness is a weakness. It is when you think about it, because if you feel you have to defend yourself, then you don't feel you're on strong ground. If somebody attacks you and you're just like, man, I hear you, but that's not how I see it. Do you know what I mean? That's somebody who feels confident and sure of where they're at, and understands that this person and this drama that they're enacting has nothing to do with you. And that's their reality and their perspective. So defensiveness is a sign of weakness. It's like if you walk into, I'm watching The Mandalorian at the moment, which is an amazing show if you've never seen it. And the first episode of the new season is so good. Oh my God, they knocked it out of the park. But just to talk about Westerns, if you walk into a bar and you pull out your gun right away, because you're expecting, the gunslinger who's like super confident walks in, they're not even thinking about it. You know what I mean? Until the person pushes them, like, okay then. But they're not worried about it. They're not walking in with their guns pulled out because they're confident and they know that they're sure of their ability to be a gunslinger. So defensiveness is a sign of weakness. To communicate in a more empowered way, stay centered and hear someone out, then offer a clear, non-defensive response. It's so easy to take shots, and for a second you'll feel good. Like when Joe Biden told Donald Trump to shut up, I watched it and I was like, oh. But I know there's a lot of people all around the world who were cheering when that happened. It was so, for me, it was petty. And when Donald Trump does that kind of stuff as well, I don't like it either. It's just petty. Sometimes you laugh at getting the one-liner, but really at the end of the day, it's just being petty, telling another person to shut up. Like, why? And how does that help Joe Biden look better by telling someone to shut up? Well, some of you I know will disagree with that, but I just don't think that's the way that either candidate should be behaving. Decorum, my friends, decorum. It's such a basic thing, respect for fellow human beings. Surrender defensiveness. It's such an interesting card. I hope you've got some food for thought from there, and sharing my experiences there with you. And thoughts about the election, or there about the Mandalorian, just trying to give you a perspective on defensiveness. I know that I have been very defensive and take things very personally for many years, and those people who know me like that would be probably laughing at me making this episode. But this is where growth takes place, and this is what happens when you do your spiritual work and you take accountability for your actions and the way that you behave, and you go, you know what, I need to do better. That's not helping the situation. What can I do to be better in a situation? What can I do to be better, full stop, as a human being? And that's part of my growth, and part of why I'm making this show is to acknowledge these things and to be able to share that experience and the things that I've learned. So hopefully you will get some inspiration and food for thought from it. Again, much love to Dr. Judith Orloff. This is actually the 40th episode today, I believe. We're doing 52 cards, so it's hard. It just went by in a flash. Please go and check the other episodes out as well. Each card has so many interesting meanings and always lots of things to talk about with each one. I'll be back with the next card tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day.